Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 2B of Jammin' with Gammon, Advanced Intonational Techniques, or Tune Yourself Better Tuesday, I guess, if you like. So in part one, we looked at how to physically tune your instrument, but that is only half the battle. It's an important part of the battle, of course, because it's much harder, as I've said, to play in tune on an out-of-tune instrument, but it's not impossible. So today we're going to look at once your instrument is in tuned, how can you play more in tune? And there are a couple of factors. The most important factor is active listening and your ear training. Ear training can take some time, and many of you have been playing long enough, you have a pretty good idea of whether you're in or out of tune, although sometimes it's hard to do that out of context. So if you're not sure, um, if you're in tune or not, the first step is to try to play against something that you can hear so that you have some kind of reference. So that's called drone practicing. We'll look at that option here in a moment. You might also just want to do a note by note scan with the tuner to see with each note, what's my tendency? Am I sharp? Am I flat? Am I overall flat? Do I play overall sharp? Or am I just right? It's kind of a Goldilocks situation. There are tools that can help you do that, digital tuners and some things like that that can help you out. There are techniques of playing against other strings. The other factor that comes into play is muscle memory. Your fingers learn not only the intervals, the places on the fingerboard itself, but the space between the fingers. So knowing whether your fingers are in a half step or a whole step pattern for violins and violas becomes very important. The distance between your fingers is one of the best ways to ensure your intonation is clear and clean. And that's true of all instruments, although of course cellos and basses have their own challenges as well. So when I mentioned playing against a drone, what you want to do, say if I'm playing in the key of D major, and I'm just using D as an easy enough reference point. So I'm going to put a D here on my handy dandy tuner. So if I'm playing a piece in D, I use that drone, which is of course delightful, and I know you are enjoying it, to see how my other notes sound in relation to that. So I don't know, let me take something simple. So by testing it against, I can hear, does it ring? Like when I played a B against the D, do we get a nice ring? When I'm playing the D octave, you can see how much I can even change the pitch just by altering the balance of the weight on my finger, which is why you don't vibrate when you're playing scales, because scales need to have as pure intonation as you can. But playing those octaves and trying to get them to disappear into each other, that's a good way to check anything. So for cellos, your fourth finger strings, you can check it against the next lower string. Violin and viola, it works for your third finger as well. So something just to try, and that's an easy way sometimes to really hear your instrument doing sympathetic vibrations and see how close you are to being in tune as well. So if your high D is in tune, your open D will start to ring alongside it, and you just get a little bit of extra depth in your sound. So you can use those oral cues, but they're very subtle, which is why you need a relatively quiet place to practice if you can get away with it. I realize most of you don't live by yourselves in a big quiet house, so that may be a challenge, but as much as you can. So drone practice is one way that you can do that. This one a little more time consuming and a lot more trouble, but still not bad. In tonal energy here, there is an analysis mode. There we go. So you can see I will start playing and it will record, and you can see it doesn't think I'm very well in tune yet again. It will show me over time what my tendencies are. Do I tend to play flat? Do I tend to play sharp? Is it just certain notes? Is it certain fingers? So that can give me some really important information. I don't think I would do this for a long period of time in a practice session, and I generally don't do it more than once a week or so when I really want to focus on intonation, because it is pretty tedious, and you can lose focus on actual music making. But here, I'll do a quick one, then I'll show you what my results are. Hopefully they are not too mortifying. Again, I'll just use a simple D major scale. I think I just got a nice metronome, so that's cool, but that's not what I wanted. Hold that thought. Pause buttons. Okay, I'm not going to go back and edit it because that's pretty much what you'd see in class anyway. And I'm sure you miss my delightful tendency to not know what I'm doing. All right, so anyway, D major scale to see my own tendencies. That is. Okay. So I already kind of know what my tendencies are, but here, and I can look back and you could hear me doing some adjusting here. I had particular trouble getting this D. I think you can see it. See the colors there. See, when it's orange, it's not in tune. The greens were when I got it in tune. That was the G, third finger G, and I was consistently pretty flat. And I know that about myself. I know my first fingers sometimes tend to be a little bit flat too. But at the beginning of it, I was doing okay. And then things kind of went south from there. So you can see, like there, I was pretty much in tune, had a section where I changed the weight of my finger and got that in. So no one is in tune 100% of the time. The people who are the best string instrument players are the ones who can fix it faster than the rest of us. So vibrato is cheating, yes, technically, on intonation, but also it can help you kind of wiggle into place so that you know where you want to be. But ideally, as much as you can, you'll sound best if you can center the pitch accurately. And the only way to know if you're doing that is to play without vibrato and maybe use some other kind of reference. But again, your ear is always the best judge when you're playing in an ensemble. I don't personally have perfect pitch. There are people who do. I think we have a few students among us who may have perfect pitch. I feel like it can be both an advantage and a disadvantage. Yes, you can hear when things are in or out of tune, but then you can always hear when things are in and out of tune, and that can be frustrating in and of itself. So those of us who have relative pitch, and I have pretty good relative pitch, as do many of you, have decent relative pitch, you can tune to anyone that you're playing with, but you always need to be listening for the kinds of vibrations that you want to hear. And listen, does it sound good? Does it sound gross? If it sounds gross, is it supposed to sound gross for musical tension reasons, or am I just playing it out of tune? So intonation is something that all string players struggle with. A lot of string players spend a lot of time working on it. It's worth your time so that hopefully when we're able to get back together, we can all play a little better in tune and enjoy playing in our ensembles a little bit more. All right, thanks so much. I'll see you tomorrow.